Hey, everybody, day 3. And today we're going to be talking about the value of money. Hey, before we begin, I just want to quickly say, hey, thank you. Thank you for investing in your education this winter break. And thanks for watching these videos. I've been so happy seeing all the people who have been watching these videos. Each of these videos takes me hours to research, create, make, film, and then edit. So I would truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I appreciate all my subscribers who have been watching these videos. And also, if you like the video, just click on that like button, and that just really helps out the channel. All right. So thank you so much. And it's been a joy to teach you. Let's keep going. Today, we're going to talk about the value of money, which is our third video of 10. So I hope that you continue with us. All right. So why did I title it The Value of Money? Well, we're going to talk about a lot of different things that you probably have heard of. So 6 figures, $100,000. We're going to talk about minimum wage. We're going to talk about inflation and so many more topics. All right. So here we go. Let's begin. According to the California Department of Industrial Relations, I first want to talk about the California minimum wage. So we are in California. I live in California. And if you are not in California, please take a look at what your state's minimum wage is. But effective as of this year, 2020, it was $12 an hour. But if you work for an employer with 26 or more employees, it's $13 an hour. Okay, so 12 and 13. Now, in a few days, it's going to ring in, we're going to ring in the new year, 2021, and the California minimum wage will go up $1. So it's going to go from $12 to $13 or $13 to $14, depending on, once again, where you work and who you work for. Now, so the reason why we're going to talk about minimum wage is because I want you to know the value of money. Now, before we calculate, there's 2 things you need to know. The US standard work week full-time is about 40 hours per week, okay? And the standard weeks worked per year is about 50 weeks per year. So if you are considered full-time, that's about 40 hours per week, about 5 days a week usually. And you work every week of the year except for about 2 that you have for vacation. Now, this is not the case for every job. Obviously, every job is going to be different, but this is a standard kind of criteria that we look at. Now, can you get more vacation weeks? Absolutely. Like the longer years you work, or you could even sometimes buy vacation from your employer, et cetera. All right. So look into whatever specific job that you're looking at. I'm going to use a California Paycheck calculator by smartasset.com. And it looks like this. And I'm going to type in right now $13 an hour. So minimum wage in the new year for a company that's lower than 26 employees. And I'm going to type in 80 hours for every 2 weeks. As you can see at the bottom, it says semi-monthly. So semi-monthly means 2 times a month. Okay, so that's 80 hours per week for every 2 weeks if we're looking at that. All right, so as I type in this information, here's what I got. The gross paycheck. So gross means the total amount without taxes or anything removed. That is just what you get when you take $13 an hour times 80 hours. You get $1,040. And as you can see here, these are all like the main things that get taken out of your paycheck every single time you get paid. Taxes, you've got your FICA and your state insurance taxes, and you've got any pre-tax deductions. So let's say if you invest in a 401k, it can come out of there. Let's say you invest in a Roth 401k or you have a health insurance plan that you want to pay into. Once again, those are pre and post-tax deductions. But as you can see here, our $1,040 quickly turned into $843 that hits your bank account. So real quick, I want to talk about where does all this go into. So here's a breakdown. And if you're interested, I'll put a link to smartasset.com, this calculator below, so you can play around with kind of these numbers. All right. So as you can see here, we've got our federal and state taxes that come out of our paycheck. So first I want to talk about those 2 taxes. So I'm going to zoom in here. As you can see here, there's a percentage that gets taken out for each of them. Now, let's talk about taxes. Actually, that's the 4th day. So that's tomorrow's lesson, but I'm going to quickly go into a little bit right now. First off, does every state tax income the same? So does every single state tax you on your income the same? No. Living in California, we pay the highest state income tax. As you can see here in this graphic, 13.3%, depending on how much you make. And I'm gonna give credit to taxfoundation.org, and I'll put a description in the link below if you are interested in looking more into this. So as you can see here, every state is different. Now, you can probably take a look at this figure and you see 7 states that don't have an income state tax, right? Now, I'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, before I scare you off too, and some of you are looking at 13% for California versus some of these are 4, 6%, or Nevada has 0, as you can see that. Now, before I scare you off, not everyone pays the same taxes. So there's a bracket, and I'll show you this more on tomorrow's lesson. And the amount of tax that you pay really depends on your income. All right. Once again, we'll talk more about these tax brackets, your state and federal tax brackets, during podcast number 4. All right. Does every state have income tax? No. All right. So depending on which state you live in or you reside in, you're going to have a different situation. So here are the 7 states without an income state tax. And some of you are maybe looking at Texas, because Texas has been a really hot place to go in terms of where employers are moving, because there's less than taxes. However, if you take a look at that graphic, Texas has a higher property tax. Okay, so once again, every state collects their income in a different way. So if you don't have a state income tax, then they'll most likely get it in a different way. All right. So let's go back here. And as you can see, here's the breakdown for how much we are paying in terms of income tax and stuff like that. I also want to show you that every single person who works in the US has to pay Social Security tax and Medicare tax and state disability. So it's all a percentage of what you make. But yeah, these are also some common things that will come out of your paycheck. All right. So what's the takeaway? We went from $1,040 to $843 take home every other week. So 2 times a month. So here's a quick rough calculation. If you worked 8 hours a day, and that's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And some of you are looking at that, you're like, wait a minute, that's 9 hours. That's not 8. Well, that's because if you work over 5 hours, you have to take a mandatory lunch. So usually it's an hour or even 45 minutes or even 30 minutes. So let's just say it's an hour. So you'll be working from 8 to 5. And let's say you worked 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And let's say you worked 50 weeks per year. All right. So those are all the different things right there. So so $843 would be your semi-monthly pay. Now we're going to times that by 2, because if that's happening per month, then you get about $1,686 per month. And then now you've got $20,232 per year. That's a rough calculation if you worked minimum wage full time. All right. So if you're taking notes, this is the first answer in your note taker. So go ahead and write down those 2 figures in red. And if you're not taking notes, I just want you to know that, I hear so many of my students saying, I better make $100,000 when I come out of college or something like that. And I hear a lot of, like if I don't make $100,000, then like it's not worth my time. $20,232 is what you would get if you worked in minimum wage. So as we talk about the value of money, I want you to quickly understand that $100,000 is a lot of money. And some of you will earn $100,000 upon graduating school. But the main point I'm trying to put through right now is there's an expectation versus reality, right? That's a lot of money. And if you do earn $100,000, be grateful and just understand that that's not normal. Like that's a lot of money. Okay. Now my first job, I made $7.50 an hour for minimum wage. And honestly, that was the best experience for me in high school because I started to understand the value of money. I remember we would go out to eat like with my friends and stuff. And like a lunch would cost like $10. And in my head, I would think about, wait a minute, this is an hour of work that I'm about to spend on this meal or this, small thing that I'm about to eat. So it really started making me think about, hey, appreciating the value of money and don't just spend money, but understand where it's coming from. And it comes from hard work. Okay, awesome. This is another answer on your notes. If you're taking notes, the average income, family of 4, according to creditkarma.com, is about $61,937. Every website I looked at had a different figure, but we're just going to use this one right here. And once again, this is the median household income of 4. All right, is $61,937. Now, depending on where you live, this is obviously going to be different. Where you live, what state you live in, your gender, and even your race. So all these have different factors here, but I just threw out that number to make you understand how much that is. What is the US Census? So growing up, I didn't know what this US Census was, but now I know a little more. Now, according to the 2020 census.gov, and you can write this down in your notes, this thing in blue right here, the US Census counts every living person in the US and in the 5 US territories. It's mandated by the Constitution that we collect this data. The census provides critical data for lawmakers and others to provide daily services, products, and or support for you and your community. Every year, billions of dollars in federal funding goes to different things: hospitals, fire departments, schools, roads, etc. So, but all that is based on these census data. So the results of the census also determine how many US House of Reps you have. So in short, every 10 years, you may get something in the mail, just like we did recently, and you just fill it out and you submit it back. But that is huge in terms of getting funding for our state. All right, now let's talk about inflation. What's inflation and why does it happen? Well, according to Investopia.com, inflation is the decline of purchasing power of a given currency over time. So as currency loses value, prices will rise, and then it will afford and buy fewer goods and services. All right, so if you're taking notes, go and write that down as well. And I just wanted to quickly show you how the value of money changes as inflation kicks in. And I want to show you something right here. So here's straight from your notes. If in 1980, I purchased an item for $1,000, then how much would it have been 10 years later in 1990? Well, so write this down. It's about 1586. Over those 10 years, inflation has kicked in, and just doing a rough calculation, that's what it would have become. 20 years later, year 2000, 2089, 81. Take a look at these numbers. 30 years later, 26, 46, 31, and 40 years later, 31, 58, 12. Wow. Right. So if you're interested in playing around with these numbers, I'll link below to this website called usinflationcalculator.com. Super awesome. And it just helps you understand how money will most likely change the value of money over the years. All right. So in short, $1,000, it is now worth $31.58 in 40 years. So in 40 years from now, just understand that the value of money will be different as well. All right. So according to CNBC.com, and there's a link below to that as well, they talk about RPPs, and I want to quickly talk about this. RPP stands for Regional Price Parities, which expresses a region's price level relative to the US as a whole. Now, to help put RPPs in perspective, the Tax Foundation adjusted the value of $100 to show you how much it would buy you in each state. So the big question is $100 equal in each state? No. Just like taxes aren't equal, RPPs are not equal as well. Take a look at this image right here real quick. And what I love about it is it shows you how much $100 is worth really in each state. Okay. Now, I've picked a few, and on your note taker, if you're doing that, based on that, $100 in Mississippi is actually worth $116. In Arizona, $103.73, California, $87.11, and New York, $86.36. Why? How come the value of money is not the same in every single state? Well, that's mainly because of the cost of living and just really everything about that state that makes it its state. So it's all about different economics. So you can look into that if you're interested. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this to the very end if you're watching this right now. And I just hope that as you go through life, you're going to have a value of money, but you're more so going to have an understanding of how much money is actually worth. All right. Thank you so much, and all the best. Bye.